telling you all about us. Now, World Bird Sanctuary was founded in 1977 by a man of the name Walter Crawford. Walter Crawford was a bird keeper at the St. Louis Zoo, and he looked around and he realized there were not a whole lot of places for injured or sick raptors to go when they weren't feeling so well. Now, he started to take birds into his own backyard, and he founded what was originally called the Raptor Rehabilitation and Propagation Project Incorporated. Ooh. That's a mouthful, right? It's a good thing we changed our name to World Bird Sanctuary. But since then, we have grown and grown, where we now sit on over 300 acres of Missouri hardwood forest. There are three main things we do at the World Bird Sanctuary. The first being, in that very long name, rehabilitation. We take over 700 patients every year, up to 800. That number continues to grow and grow every year. That might sound like a sad thing that we're getting more injured raptors at our sanctuary, but that's a good thing because that means that these injured or sick raptors who originally didn't have a place to go now have an area. People are learning more about us. They're telling and bringing the birds to our sanctuary. We have an incredible vet team with us, our vet techs and our on-site veterinarian, and we actually have a higher than average, national average release rate. Now, of course, not all of these birds can be released of our patients, so we have over 150 permanent residents that stay with us at the sanctuary. And today, you will be meeting all 150 of them. No, we only have 3 crates up here, or 4 crates up here. We're only showing you guys 4 birds, but don't worry, they are 4 of the best and brightest that we have at the sanctuary. And that is what we are doing here today, the second thing we do at the sanctuary, which is education. Now, we go to different places like Springfield, Illinois. We go to fairs, we go to libraries, places all across the Midwest, and we are able to bring our birds and educate the public about what we do at the sanctuary and about raptors in general. The third and final thing we do at the sanctuary is something called conservation. You guys are here in conservation world, so I think you have an idea or an understanding of what conservation means. That being said, what conservation means to us is taking care of and protecting the environment around us, or the people, or the birds that we have, like our patients or our permanent residents. We also do something called propagation, another big word in that big long title we had before. What propagation is essentially a fancy word for helping birds make other birds. At the World Bird Sanctuary, we look at birds that are endangered species, and not just in the United States, but from around the world. And we help breed those birds and make sure their populations go up and ideally be released back into the wild. At the moment, we are really focusing on vulture species. With over 20 species of vultures in the world, over half of those species are currently threatened or endangered. And those species, vultures in general, are very important to the natural environment. They're nature's cleanup crew, so we want to keep them in the world. So that is something that the World Bird Sanctuary is doing, and we are trying to release them out into the wild or keeping them so that we can increase that population. So with our pillars out of the way, I'm going to move on to housekeeping. So we're going to be having a bird flying right over your guys' head. We encourage you guys to take as many pictures and videos as you'd like. We just ask that your phone and your hands are below your head and that your flash photography is turned off. We want to minimize as many obstacles as possible for our birds. They are trained professionals, but we want to make sure that this is as safe and easy for them as possible. If you are standing, we ask that you sit down or crouch in the flight path so that, again, we have as minimal obstacles as possible. I also ask, does anyone have a big, thick leather glove in the audience, aside from Jen? No one? Perfect. These birds are also trained to go to people with rats in their pocket. Does anyone have any rats in their pocket? Again, aside from Jen. Good. It would be a little bit, what'd you say? Every day? Okay, so if you just keep that in your pocket, make sure she doesn't smell it. That'd be perfect. Yeah. So with that housekeeping out of the way, we can go ahead and meet our first flying bird. Alrighty. Our first guest today is not from this area. She actually comes from the southwest of the United States. So places like Nevada or Arizona. Her name is Noodle, and she is called a Harris's hawk, or another name for them is a bay-winged hawk. And you'll see why she gets that name. Alrighty, Noodle, you ready? Ready, girl? Ready, girl, let's go. have fans out waiting for you. There we go. Yep, beautiful. This is Noodle. She is a bay-winged hawk. Bay is just another fancy word for brown. So she is a brown-winged hawk. Scientists are not always the most creative when it comes to naming birds. So they will see something that makes them look the way they do, and they will identify it based off of that. So if you guys have ever seen a bird that is blue, that is a bluebird, blue jay. If you guys have ever seen a hawk with a red tail, that is a red-tailed hawk. Now, scientists are not the most creative all the time, but that is very helpful because that means that we are able to see an animal, see its characteristics, and be able to identify it easily. We like to joke that you guys are not allowed to touch the birds, but that doesn't mean the birds are not allowed to touch you. The lower you duck down, the lower Noodle will swoop. Yeah. Oh. All right. We're gonna wait for her to catch a glimpse. There we go. Beautiful. Now, as I mentioned, Noodle's not from here. She is from the southwest of the United States. But Noodle here is a great example of what makes a raptor, and she is going to make her last flight. As we wait for her to catch a glimpse of me, there we go. Beautiful. Alrighty, I'm gonna get her secure here. Perfect, good girl, Noodle. Now, as I mentioned, Noodle is a great example of a raptor. I've been saying the word raptor a little bit, so egg on my face for not explaining that to you guys. A raptor, what is the first thing that you guys think of when you guys hear the word raptor? Yeah.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur, yeah, like a velociraptor. Now, Noodle here is not exactly a velociraptor, but she actually, her species is actually the inspiration. If you guys have ever seen Jurassic World, bay-winged hawks are actually the inspiration for velociraptors because of how intelligent they are. But when I say the word raptor, I'm talking about birds of prey, or birds that eat other animals, carnivores. Now, one second, sorry, this one's giving me some issue. She's secure. Now, she is a bird of prey. So, birds of prey include hawks, eagles, falcons, owls, parakeets, and seriamas if you want to be a bird nerd about it. And we here at the Bird Sanctuary are the bird nerds. Yeah. But scientists look at things whenever they're grouping things together, and they want to see what makes these animals similar. So there are a few key characteristics or adaptations or superpowers that really make a raptor, and Noodle's going to show those off to you guys today. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and then we're going to work our way up on Noodle. Can anyone take a guess on why I am wearing this thick leather glove? Yeah. Her claws. Great. Does anyone know what the claws on a bird are called? There's a super scientific word for them. Yeah. Talons. Yeah, you didn't know the scientific word. You're so talented. Was that a poop? Oh, there's the poop. I'm sorry, guys. You do have to laugh at my bad bird puns. If you don't, it gets a little bit awkward. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, but Noodle has those nice, long, sharp talons to hunt her prey. She's a bird of prey, so she is going to be eating things that are skittering down below her. So the word raptor actually comes from the word wrapped, which means to hold tight and to grasp. So she's going to use those talons to hold tight onto her food. Her very favorite food are jackrabbits, but she also likes to eat rodents and squirrels. But those talons are a great way for her to hold onto her food and make sure they don't get away from her. So, if you guys had your chicken nuggets and they were skittering around, you would probably want some nice long toenails to be able to latch onto them so they don't get away. But that's a little bit gross, so we can go ahead and change onto the subject, onto the other definition of wrapped, which means to grasp. If you guys would indulge me here for a second and take your hand, curl it up into a fist and squeeze so very, very tight, and then shake it out because a lot of you look very strong. A raptor, so humans actually can hold a grip strength of about 50 to 60 pounds. Some people get even up to 150 pounds. I think I saw a lot of 150 pounds in the audience here today. But I don't recommend getting into an arm wrestling match with Noodle anytime soon. Firstly, because she doesn't have any arms, so that wouldn't be very fair. But secondly, Noodle can squeeze with not 50 pounds of pressure, not 100 pounds of pressure, not 150, not 200, but 300 pounds of pressure. So anything she's grabbing onto is going to not get away as easily. So as we move on up to Noodle and land on her face, we're going to look at the second thing of what makes a raptor, that nice, sharp, hooked beak. Now a beak is a great way for us to see what a bird likes to eat. If you think of a pelican, they have that big scoopy beak. What do pelicans like to eat? Fish, yeah, exactly. Now a cardinal, we're in Illinois, and that is the state bird. Cardinals have that short and stubby beak. Does anyone know what cardinals like to eat? They like to eat seeds, so they can break down those seeds. Noodle, as I mentioned, she is a carnivore. She is a bird of prey. She likes to eat things that are moving around and nice and thick. So she's going to need that beak to bite and pull at her prey. So I don't want her to ask me to have to swallow a steak whole. I'm not going to ask her to do that. She's going to be able to bite her meal into bite-sized pieces. We like to joke that she brings her fork and her knife to every meal. We've talked about Noodle's sharp talons, her sharp beak. We're going to move on to the third and final thing that makes a raptor, which is Noodle's very sharp eyesight. Has anyone heard of the compliment, you have hawk eyes or eagle eyes? Yeah, that means your eyesight is very good. It is not an empty compliment. That is because hawks and eagles have incredible eyesight. Raptors like Noodle, they are able to see very far away. Now if I were to stand right here and Noodle were to be all the way on the other end of this amphitheater, she would be able to read my name tag. Of course, if she were able to read, we are able to teach our birds a lot of cool things. Reading is not one of them. We started to think about, teaching them how to be potty trained first, but you guys see how that's going already. But Noodle here's eyesight is so good. In a more practical example, if she were to see something as small as my hand, like a rabbit, from up to a mile away, her eyesight is incredibly good. So that hawkeye eagle eye comes from our incredible eyesight from raptors. Now all these different adaptations of raptors make it very easy for them to hunt things. That being said, really they only have a 1 in 5 chance of being successful in their hunting. That'd be like if you went to a McDonald's, you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting ice cream if you asked for it, which isn't very good. That being said, we can just go to another McDonald's or to a Culver's. So we have a lot of options to get our ice cream. Oh, that is a Rouse. That means she's feeling pretty comfy cozy. So you guys, that is a compliment to you. You guys are being great animal trainers. But Noodle here, she doesn't have that opportunity to just go to another rodent pro to be able to catch her food. So something that bay-wing hawks specifically have that helps their chances of catching food is that they work in packs. As I mentioned before, velociraptors in Jurassic World were modeled after these bay-winged hawks, including their hunting practices. So those velociraptors in Jurassic World, they hunted together, tracking their prey. Nudie here would do the same with her family if she were in the southwestern United States. Her very favorite food are jackrabbits. And if none of you guys have seen a jackrabbit before, all you have to do is imagine a rabbit and then picture a super duper jacked. That's a little bit hard for one Noodle to take down on her own. But when she has her family with her, they are all able to hunt, track down, and get that prey together. They're able to communicate with each other with that white stripe on their tail by waggling it back and forth to give each other directions on where a rabbit went, where their prey went. Another cool thing that bay-winged hawks have learned to do is rabbits, they have their burrows. If a rabbit goes inside their burrow to try and hide and get away from the bay-winged hawk, they will actually tuck their wings in and chase that rabbit into the burrow with them. Now you might be thinking, but Malaya, there are multiple entrances and exits to a burrow, so that rabbit can easily get away. But think again, because Noodle will communicate with her family, and there will be a hawk positioned at every entrance and exit of that burrow. So whenever that rabbit wants to come out, there will be a hungry hawk on the other end going to get it. Now Noodle was hatched at the sanctuary about 9 years ago, specifically to be an education ambassador, to teach people of what makes a raptor a raptor. And I think she has done a wonderful job here today. So we're going to go ahead and send her off to her dressing room with a wave goodbye. All right. Good job, Noodle. Now I mentioned, Noodle is not from here. She is from the southwestern United States. So if you guys happen to see a bay-winged hawk in this area, make sure to give us a call, because that is Noodle, and she is very, very lost, and we would like to have her back. Our next guest is going to be a little bit more local. He can be found here in Illinois and also in Missouri, but it might be hard for us to see usually our next guest because they like to go in very high places. I'm gonna put her up. All right, sweetheart, let's go. Ready? All right. Now, as I mentioned, our next guest likes to go super duper high up, so he can be found in places like cities with skyscrapers, but they can also be found in blocks as well. He is very noisy. He is introducing himself to you guys. Well, our next guest is Frank, and he is a peregrine falcon. As I mentioned, they like to be super high up because their very favorite food are birds. They like to eat other birds. They are bird eaters. So if he's living in cities, cities are very abundant with other birds like pigeons. So the way that peregrine falcons are going to be hunting, they are built for speed. They're incredibly aerodynamic. You are actually looking at the fastest animal in the world. Does anyone think that it is Jen? Yeah, one person. Thank you. Well, you guys are right. We are looking at the fastest animal in Frank here. Oh, we got another route. You guys are doing a great job being bird trainers. But Frank is actually the fastest animal in the world, and he's showing off that nice sharp wingspan. What makes him so fast? Now, peregrine falcons, the last recorded speed of them was 250 miles or 240 miles per hour. But just saying, over 200 miles per hour is also very impressive. A lot of people will think that the fastest animal is a cheetah. They're the fastest land animal. They can be very, very fast too, with over 60 miles per hour. Frank's got them beat though with over double. Now the reason why Frank can reach those incredibly fast speeds is because he's incredibly aerodynamic, as I mentioned. If Frank were to tuck his wings in right now, you would see that they would cross over in his back. Oh, were we gonna get a little demonstration? No. Either way, you get to see his wings right now. They are very long and sharp at the end, and they're pointed, which helps him be able to cut through the wind and cut through the, oh, there's that crossing, beautiful, just like we practiced. Now, he also makes a teardrop shape when he's going down, which makes his shape very aerodynamic. Peregrine falcons are able to reach that speed when they enter something called a stoop. They will tuck those wings in, and they will go into a very steep dive in that stoop. And what they will do is they are doing that stoop whenever they are hunting their prey. As I mentioned, they like to eat pigeons or other birds. So, Frank will tuck in his feet into a nice fist. He has a super long toe, if you guys are able to see it. That kind of acts like a baseball glove where he's able to absorb the shock of any impact with that long toe. And he is going to punch a pigeon out of the sky, a proper falcon punch. And either he can catch it midair, or he can wait until that pigeon hits the ground and is nice tenderized at the bottom for him. But as I said, they are incredibly aerodynamic. Aviation designers would even design planes off of falcons because they are built for speed. That nice teardrop shape, those long pointed wings is incredible for picking up speed. Another thing that Frank has, another adaptation that helps him when he's flying, is something called a tubercle. You guys can't really see it right now, but in his nostril, he has a little bit of a notch. And that is able to break up the air whenever it's hitting his face. If any of you guys have ever stuck your head out of a window or maybe gone go-karting without a helmet, you would know that it might be a little bit hard to breathe when all that air is hitting your face. It would be the same for Frank, but he has that tubercle in his nostrils that allows to break up the air and make it easier for him to breathe. Now, Frank here specifically is actually an example of the World Bird Sanctuary's rehab hospital. He came to us as a patient at the hospital due to a collision he got when he was very young, within his first year of hatching. Now, I'm going to admit something a little bit embarrassing. I myself have run into glass a couple of times. It's hard to see. But for birds, it's almost impossible for them to see. They just see an open space for them to fly through. We believe that Frank collided with some glass, and and he broke his right wing. So I don't know if you guys are able to see, but his wing is a little bit crooked, a little bit off. He technically is still able to see, or he's still able to fly. Unfortunately, he cannot fly up. He can fly left, right, down, not up, which is incredibly important because, as I mentioned, peregrine falcons like to go up high. He wasn't able to get that height in. He wasn't able to properly fly when he was young. So he was deemed non-releasable and stays with us at the sanctuary as an education ambassador. And I think Frank has done an absolutely wonderful job being our education ambassador today, teaching us about physics and flight. And we can go ahead and send Frank off to his dressing room with a wave goodbye. Thank you, Frank. He's taking his bow. There you go. Now, our next bird guest that is going to be coming out, we have met two birds that are active during the daytime. Now, animals that are active during the daytime are called diurnal. Does anyone know what animal that is active during the nighttime is called? You guys can go ahead and shout it out. Nocturnal. Incredible. Yeah. Our next guest is going to be a nocturnal bird. Can anyone take a guess on who we're going to meet? I'm hearing eagle. Not quite. Those are also diurnal. Owl. Yeah, exactly. We're going to be meeting an owl today. Now, this owl, as I mentioned, they are nocturnal, so they like the nighttime, and it is daytime right now. Our next guest, she was born at the sanctuary with us, so she is actually very used to our schedule. So she also is very good at coming on out usually, but sometimes she likes to be a little bit of a diva, but she's been such a good girl today. This is Winona, and she is an eastern screech owl. Eastern screech owls can actually be found in this area as well. They are also local, just like Frank. But it might be a little bit hard for us to see Winona or an eastern screech owl in the wild because of a couple of things. First, she is nocturnal. So when we're awake, she's going to be asleep. And when we're asleep, that's when she's going to be active. She's also very, very small. It might be easier for us to see a larger owl, like a barred owl or a great horned owl. But a small little owl is going to be a little bit harder for us to see in the wild. Another reason why it's going to be harder for us to see her is because she has great camouflage. If you guys look at Winnie, and then you look at a tree, and then you look at Winnie, and then you look at a tree, look at Winnie, then a tree, look at Winnie, you guys might get a little bit dizzy. But you might also see that Winnie's coloring looks a lot like the bark of a tree. She has great camouflage so she can properly blend into her surroundings. A great way for her to really blend in is she will do something whenever she sees something that might startle her, is she will make herself super duper skinny and so very tall, and she will bring those tufts on her ears, and she will kind of do her best impression of a stick or a branch. Those tufts on her ears, or tufts on her head, are called plumicorns. It's a very fun word to say if you guys want to say it with me. Plumicorns. They're kind of like the unicorns of the bird world. But they are able to move in either direction and kind of break up that owl-shaped blob that she would otherwise look like. Now, Winona here, as I mentioned, she is nocturnal, and she's a raptor, so she is going to be hunting her prey during the nighttime. And she has a couple of adaptations or superpowers that will best help her whenever she is hunting. And that is very similar for all owls. Now, first thing that we're going to look at are Winona's very large eyes. Her eyes are very, very big. But what if I told you that we are actually looking at the smallest part of her eyes? We as humans have eyeballs in the shape of spheres. Winona's eyes are more of that of a light bulb, where the smallest part is what we are looking at, and they get larger in the back, so the part that lights up in her skull. That is able to help her see in the dark. She has incredible night vision, so all that space in the back of her eye is going to be for those rod cells to be able to take in light as much as possible. Now, that being said, with those big eyes in her skull, that doesn't leave a whole lot of space for other things. Of course, not her brain, but the muscles in her eyes. We can do something that Winona can't do. If we were to keep our head completely still, we can look left, we can look right, we can look up, we can look down, we can roll our eyes, but not the kiddos to the grown-ups. They don't like when they do that. But Winona can't do that. She doesn't have those muscles that would allow for that movement, so her eyes are actually locked in a fixed position. But she's able to look around in a different way. Winona here is able to turn her head around way more than we can. Now humans, we have 7 bones in our neck, and we can turn our head about 180 degrees. Winona here has 14 bones in her neck. That allows her to turn her head in 270 degrees. You guys might have heard of the myth that owls can turn their head 360 degrees. I hate to break it to you, that is not true. Technically, she would be able to do that, but only once, and it won't end up so good for her. Now, if Winona wanted to look, if I was Winona, and I was standing right here, and I wanted to look at what was on the other side of my left, I would turn all the way around, and I would get right here, but I can't turn that last 90 degrees, so I'd have to turn all the way back to the front, and then look that direction. So Winona's eyes are incredible at night vision, but her neck is also very good at taking in her surroundings. Another thing that really helps Winona be able to hunt in the nighttime is her incredible hearing. The night is very quiet, and things that she's hunting, like rodents, they have very good hearing as well. So they want to be quiet as well. So Winona's hearing is perfect for picking up noise. She has a beautiful facial disc that is kind of flat and curved in, so any sound comes in and bounces directly into her ears. Winona's hearing is so good, she can hear something like a mouse under a foot of snow up to 90 feet away. And if we were all super duper quiet, she would be able to hear each and every one of our heartbeats. Of course, if she wanted to and she really focused on it, she's not really going to be listening for our heartbeats. She's mostly going to be focusing on the pitter-patter of mice feet. But Winona's ears are very attuned to hearing small things. Another thing that really helps her hearing is she has crooked or asymmetrical ears. Our ears are right across from each other, but Winona's, she has one above her eye and one below her eye. That allows Winona to be able to pinpoint wherever a sound came from, so that she can know exactly if something was above her, below her, next to her, 90 degrees, 45 degrees away from her. Now, the last thing that really helps an owl to be able to hunt quietly and properly during the night is her incredibly soft wings. Winona here has very soft wings where she is able to muffle the sound. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an example of that. So, here I have 2 different types of wings. I have the wing from a turkey vulture, and I have a wing from a great horned owl. Turkey vultures. Does anyone know what vultures like to eat? Vultures like to eat roadkill or carrion or things that are already dead. Vultures are also diurnal, so they act during the day. But their prey is already long gone, so they don't have to be sneaky or hunt or anything. So their feathers are not going to be as quiet. So we're going to listen to these. You guys hear that? Alrighty, now this is a great horned owl wing. We're going to listen to it, flap around. Which one was quieter? The owl wing, right? Like I said, it is because of how soft their feathers are. That is going to muffle the sound of wind. Another thing that's really going to help, and that is different between a turkey vulture or an owl wing, is the structure of the feathers themselves. Now, it might be a little bit hard for you guys to see, but the turkey vulture wing, on the feather, it is a nice smooth edge. In comparison, with the wing of an owl, it's going to have that comb or frayed edge that basically helps break up the wind even more. If you guys took your hand and you flapped the wing, your wing by your ear, you can kind of hear it, right? Now, if you took your hand and spread the fingers, you can flap it again. It's going to be much quieter, aside from your wrist popping, or maybe that's just my wrist. But that's because instead of that wind going and hitting your wing or your feather and going around it, it is going to be passing through, making that silent flight that owls have. Now, I've been talking very flatteringly about Winona here, and how could I not? She is a very interesting bird, but Winona here has not always been so cute, I hate to say. Eastern screech owls go through something called a a catastrophic molt. And this is only found in screech owls themselves. But birds in general will go through a molt where they will drop their feathers one by one, get new feathers, just like our hair we shed. They're going to be doing the same with their feathers. But as I said, they usually do that one by one when they're in the wild. We've noticed with eastern screech owls, when they are in professional human care, they will go through a catastrophic molt where all the feathers on their heads will drop. And that looks a little bit rough. And Winona just completed her catastrophic molt. She now has all new feathers. She has very beautiful feathers right now. But I'm going to give you an example of what a catastrophic molt looks like. So if you want to get one last good look at Winona before seeing what she could look like on a rough day. All right. You don't want to look at it. This is too awful, Winona. Sorry. So this was Winona earlier in the summer. Now, birds are going to be dropping their feathers. Feathers are very important for insulation and for that silent flight. So they're going to get new feathers. They usually going to drop it one by one because they want to make sure that they are safe and be able to have all their feathers. But whenever she is in proper human care and she's being taken care of, all her needs are met, we think that they feel safe enough where they can drop all those head feathers and be able to just grow it back as time goes on. Now, feathers are made of something called keratin. Keratin is what makes up our nails, our skin, our hair, and that is the same thing for birds as well. So they have those kind of keratin sheets around, and those will kind of fall off, and a brand new feather will come around. Now, Winona here, we love her dearly, but she is something we call an oops baby. Winona was actually hatched at the sanctuary on accident. We have 3 eastern screech owls at the World Bird Sanctuary. We believe that they were all male. It's a little bit hard for us to tell the difference of boy and girl for birds of prey. The best way for us to tell is either DNA testing or looking at their size. So a female raptor is going to be much larger than a male raptor. They're going to be the ones that are watching the nest and need to make sure to incubate the eggs. They need to have larger body mass. So we kept all our 3 eastern screech owls together because we all thought they were male. Turns out, one was a female because we found an egg in their hutch. That egg was Winona. And I've been using a lot of she to describe Winona. That's also another lie because we DNA tested Winona. And even though she's pretty big for an eastern screech owl, turns out she is a he. Winnie the Pooh, more like Winnie Nona. So we are 0 for 2 on that family tree in terms of knowing what they are. But birds in general, they don't really know. They don't really care if they're a male or a female. We just like to know so that we can know what to name them, and 2, if we're going to keep them with the same gender. And Winnie here has done a great job of showing you guys what the adaptations of owls are. So we can go ahead and send her off with a wave goodbye. Goodbye, Luna. And she's also taking a bow. Now, for our 3rd and final bird, we have met a hawk, we have met a falcon, and we have met an owl. Our 3rd and final guest is much larger than those guys. What is another raptor that I have yet to show you guys? What do you think?
Eagle.
An eagle. Yeah, we have an eagle coming up. Now, in Illinois and in Missouri, or in the United States in general, we only have 2 types of eagles. We have, can anyone guess what those 2 types of eagles are? Bald eagle. What's the other type of eagle that we have? Does anyone know? I think I heard it. Did I hear a golden eagle? I think I heard that. Yeah, we have a golden eagle. So those are the 2 types of eagles that we have. Today, I brought you a bald eagle. Now, bald eagle, very recognizable. That is our national symbol. But does anyone know what our national symbol almost was?
Turkey.
A turkey, yeah. A turkey was almost our national symbol because a man by the name Benjamin Franklin, he didn't think that a bald eagle was a good choice for our national symbol because he believed that eagles were of poor moral character. I think it's a little bit weird to put morals on a bird, but he kind of had a little bit of a point. And Scout here is introducing himself here. He doesn't like that he was almost not the national symbol. You ready? There we go. Now, Benjamin Franklin wanted it to be a turkey because he thought that eagles were a poor moral character. There's a little bit of a truth to that because eagles are called the pirates of the sky. An eagle's very favorite food is fish, but they will also eat things like squirrels, rabbits, rats. That being said, they are also scavengers, and they will sometimes steal from other birds who have caught those squirrels. So if you see a bald eagle eating a fish, they absolutely caught that themselves. Or maybe they stole from another bald eagle. Or if you see them eating a squirrel or a rabbit, they definitely stole that from a red-tailed hawk, which is not the first time a bald eagle has stolen from a red-tailed hawk. If you guys have ever watched a show or a movie and they have a bald eagle with that great patriotic screech, that is actually a red-tailed hawk who is not being paid for his voice acting. So I guess Benjamin Franklin had a little bit of a point with their poor moral character. But they're just birds. That's what birds do. We can't blame them for that. Now, Scout here, he actually is another patient that came to us through the rehab hospital. If you guys are using your hawk eyes, your eagle eyes, you might notice that Scout is missing one of his. Oh. That is because when he was very young, just a juvenile eagle, he fell out of the nest. I don't know about you guys, I think flying is a little bit hard. I've never tried it before, but I'd have to assume, right? So, Scout here also agrees. He fell out of his nest, collided with something on the way down, whether that was a stick, a branch, the ground in general, but that caused his eye to have an injury and led to an infection in his eye, where the hospital determined that it would be better for his overall health to take it out to prevent further infection in his body. Now, because he lost that eye at such a young age, Scout wasn't able to properly learn the skills of a bald eagle. He can't properly fly or hunt. If you guys wanted to go home and play Scout at home, all you have to do is cover one of your eyes and have a soccer ball hurtling towards you and try to hit your mark. That would be a little bit hard with your depth perception being very off. Same thing with Scout here. He was deemed non-releasable because he was not able to develop the skills that a proper eagle needs when they are an adult. If Scout had lost that eye when he was older, he would have already developed those skills to be able to fly and hunt innately, where he could be released back into the wild. But because he was so young when he came to us, he stays with us as an education ambassador. Now, I'm very grateful, even though his story is a little bit sad, it does have a happy ending, because the reason Scout came to us is because of his community. There were people in his neighborhood who saw his eagle nest, and they realized that he was hurt, and they cared about him. And they brought him to a rehab hospital to get fixed up. And that similar story is very alike to the story of the bald eagle in general. Now, by a show of hands, who here has seen a bald eagle in the wild? Well, that is a lot of you, which is incredible, because many years ago, that was not the case. Now, in 1950, there was something called DDT, a pesticide or a bug spray that we would spray on our crops to be able to keep any bugs away, which was very good at its job. But bald eagles would ingest it and get very sick. Now, of course, bald eagles weren't eating our wheat and our corn. Instead, that DDT would, whenever it rains, wash down into the rivers and the lakes. And as I mentioned, their very favorite food is fish. So a bald eagle would come down and catch a fish that has DDT in it. They would eat that fish, and that DDT would impact their body, where they are not able to properly produce calcium. Does anyone here know what we need calcium as humans in our body? Bones, very strong bones, exactly. Now, Scout here also needs calcium for his strong bones, but the main thing that an eagle is going to be using calcium for is to make strong eggs, strong eggshells. Can anyone take, oh, is that another poop? Lovely. Can anyone take a guess what they think Scout weighs? Can you shout it out?
20 pounds?
20 pounds, very good. Any other guesses? 100 pounds, wow, Jen, you are so strong. Well, Scout here does need to fly, so that he's not going to weigh that much. Scout only weighs about 6 or 7 pounds. A bald eagle can actually get up to about 14 or so pounds. Scout here is just small in general. He is from Florida, so he doesn't need as much body mass or body heat, so he's going to be a little bit smaller. But even so, 6 pounds is still enough to squash a weakened eggshell. So instead of a baby eaglet, you'd end up with an omelet, which is a joke that never goes over easy. But don't let it get you too scrambled, because there's a sunny side to the story. Okay, don't worry, I'm all out of yolks. But there is a sunny side to the story, because Because just like Scout's individual story of the community coming together to save him, same thing happened with bald eagles. It actually started with the community, the fishermen, duck hunters, people that really cared about the environment and enjoyed spending time in the natural environment, that realized that the bald eagle population had gotten so low. Again, in 1950, 1960s, the population had dropped down to less than 1,000 individuals in the lower 48 states. So there was almost a world where we didn't have our national symbol. But because all those people started to take notice, they started to talk about it more and ask those questions, which got the attention of the scientists who found that the answer of what was causing the bald eagles to go away was the DDT. The scientists then brought that up with our legislators, and eventually in 1972, DDT was officially banned. Now, of course, it took a little bit of time for the bald eagle population to come back. It also took a lot of work from different organizations. The World Bird Sanctuary being one of those organizations that worked to breed bald eagles and bring back that population and release them out into the wild. Now, in 2007, the bald eagle population increased so much, we are now over 300,000 bald eagles in the lower 48 states, which is incredible. In 2007, they were taken off the threatened and endangered species list. So, there were a lot of people in this audience who have never had to live in a world where their national symbol is endangered, which is very, very amazing. I would hate to live in a world where our national symbol is either extinct or endangered because of how incredible and resilient these guys are. Now, as I mentioned, the Scouts, this community came together. So the bald eagles, community came together. I have a little bit of homework for you guys. You're a community as well. Now, I'm not asking you guys to save an entire species, but my homework for you is to go out and see something in your backyard. A plant, a bird, an insect, something that is native to your environment and interesting. Learn what it does. Learn its ecosystem services that it provides. Learn its name. And when you start to know something, you start to care about it. And when you start to care about it, you want to protect it, just like people wanted to protect the bald eagles. So that little bit of homework for you guys I'm going to leave you with as we end our show here today. I would like to thank you all for coming to visit our show. As I mentioned, we do education, and because of reaching out to people, more people get to know about us, and more people get to bring in sick and injured birds that they find. Scout here is going to stay out for a little bit longer for pictures. We're going to be off to the side here. We just ask that you stand on the non-bird side for those pictures. Jen here makes an excellent beach shield for you. I can also stay to take pictures, and Scout is going to be taking his final bow here. But I can stand to take pictures. I can also stand to answer any questions that you guys might have. The World Bird Sanctuary is a non-profit, so we don't get any state or federal funding. So you guys just coming and knowing about us is incredibly important. But if you wanted to help us directly, we have a donation bin right here. So any small change can help make a big difference. Thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day at the